Alright guys, I got really excited. I rushed over to my friend's house. Welcome to the GladBeast combo video.
What's up guys, Scallic here, and we heard your cries, and we are now doing the GladBeast combo video. So what's up? Let's get started.
Alright, so first we're going to do the rabbit, because the rabbit's the one card combo essentially, so you don't even need anything else. The rabbit just gives you the two monsters to make the Test Panther. But we'll go ahead and we'll just play out a full hand, so that way you guys kind of get an idea. Your hand can be a bunch of different cards. We'll just say you started with... as soon as I can find it. Let's say macro, because that's fine.
Okay. That's a broken hand right there.
That's a very broken hand. It's a good thing I can stack it. No. Okay, so what you're going to want to do first, since you have your extender, you have your recovery card, but you're going to use that as an additional extender so your opponent can't play. You'll activate the rejection first, because rejection says they can't target your Gladiator Beast cards with card effects except during battle phase, which that's a very important part because you try to control the battle phase with Damatianas. So, also it states when a GladBeast is special summoned from the deck, you can get an additional GladBeast from deck, but they do not get their effect because they are not being summoned by the effect of a GladBeast, they are being summoned by the effect of rejection, and they have to be a different type than the one that you control. So, you'll then normal rabbit, you'll activate rabbit effect, pray they don't imperm you, because if they do, this whole turn dies. You get the two Ondals. And then rejection is going to resolve in a separate chain link. Rejection will give you another monster. You can go for either the Noxious or any level 5 or higher GladBeast. I wouldn't waste it on Augustus. I would just use the Vespius for it because you don't go into him that many times. You do hard make Dom sometimes, but not that often. So then before you do anything else, you'll go ahead and you'll Proving Ground. So that way if they're going to Ash, they'll Ash this because then you still can recover. Because your Test Panther is a choking point. If they kill the Test Panther right now, until Master Rule 5, the Test Panther is your choke point. You'll search the Atorix. You only ever search two cards off of the Proving Ground. It's either the Atorix, or if you open up with one Ondel, you can search the other Ondel, so you can make the Link Spider special the other one and still make Test Panther. Or if you open up with Unexpected Die and one Ondal in hand, you just Unexpected Die, summon the Ondal, link the Ondal away into Link Spider, and then activate the Link Spider effect to summon this one, link those two away into the Test Panther. So, as much as people think it is drawing the Ondal in this deck as a brick, it is not. Sometimes it can be if you open up with like the Ondal, or two Ondals, Rabbit, and Die, but the Test Panther can shuffle things back, so can Test Tiger. So you can always put the Ondals back to make your rabbits live. But back to this. After you resolve the ground, you'll search the Atorix. Then you'll go ahead and make your Test Panther. Here, we'll have to scoot this down a little bit. You'll make the Test Panther. So then you'll activate the Test Panther effect. Now you can search any card in your deck that says Gladiator Beast in the name. The best one to search though is your hard once per turn Monster Reborn. So then at this point, you can either shuffle this back, the Vest back, or you can go ahead and use this, summon the Ondal back, since you don't control any other Beast Warriors. Then you'll activate the Test Panther effect, and the targeting is the cost for him, not the shuffle back. For all the other GladBeasts, like most of their main deck monsters, their effects, they do shuffle back as cost. So you'll shuffle back the one Ondal, and in this case, this is your main play, you'll special the Augustus. Now make sure you pay attention to where your zones are, at least until Master Rule 5, because then Tamer Editor can just spam everything anywhere for you. But right now your zones are very important because of you can overlay, you can fusion, and most of all you can link, and you're going to end on Appaloosa. So you'll Augustus effect, you'll special the Atorix from hand. The Atorix effect, she's going to act as like an Elemental Hero Prisma. She's going to dump a Gladiator Beast card from main deck monster, and you can copy its name and level. So normally I'll dump the second Augustus normally, because you do not want to draw it at this point or later after this point. Or you can dump the Noxious because he's level 5. Or if you special the Noxious earlier, you can dump the Vesp. So then you can go ahead and contact fuse. I normally leave the Augustus and I contact fuse the other one I got off rejection, because now she's treated as Augustus, so she's level 8. So you'll contact fuse those. Don't forget to shuffle your deck. I always have that problem, and then I end up drawing my fusion materials. You'll make the Tamer Editor. Now Tamer Editor, since they can't target with rejection on field, is great. So it makes this guy almost hard as hell to negate. Tamer Editor is just 2 level 5 or higher Gladiator Beast monsters. He cannot be used as fusion material. Try to remember that, because if you try to fuse with him, you can't do it. Also, it's great because I've had so many people try to super poly him, and you cannot super poly because he cannot be used as fusion material. So you'll activate his effect, and you will summon your Damatianus first. I mean, if the other card in hand is Monster Reborn or World Legacy Succession, you can summon the Herculinos first if you're afraid of a trap instead. But I always go Damatianus first, because comeback, you're not going to have another Sea Serpent on board. So you'll be able to bring back your Tamer Editor and use him again, because he is a soft once per turn. So at this point, you can either make your Link 3 and leave the Augustus on board, or you can go ahead and use all 3 of these, the Tamer Editor, the Test Panther, and the Augustus, to make the Appaloosa for 3. So the Appaloosa has 3. Then you'll activate Comeback. And Comeback does not target, so if your opponent is going to call by, they have to do it on the activation of this card. They cannot wait till you select your target, because it does not target. You'll bring back your Tamer Editor. So then you can activate Tamer Editor effect again, and end with either Herculinos, and you keep the macro or whatever else you have in your hand, because I just grabbed this as a random card. Keep it in your hand, and you have a Spell and Trap negate. Your opponent cannot target. You have a monster effect negate, 3 more monster effect negates, and a monster that cannot be destroyed by battle with 3,000 booty. Because Comeback does give the effect to any Gladiator Beast card that it summons, that it cannot be destroyed by battle. So that does help you out in the long come, like if you need to get something out of your hand, smack into something, take a little bit of damage, just to be able to shuffle it back and start your combos. Like, I've had to do that sometimes. I would summon just a Bestiari. I would smack their defense monster, or smack one of their bigger monsters, especially if I brought it out off a comeback, just to shuffle it back and start my plays. But this is additionally, if you want, like I said, you can just, if you want, instead of making the Herculinos, since you don't have the discard fodder, you can make a second Damatianus. Then you don't have to worry about monster effects at all. They have 5 monster effect negates, and then you can set the macro, and then right now you'll outgrind Shadal's on resources, because Construct cannot out Damatianus unless they force his effect first. Because Construct's effect is a mandatory effect, it does activate at the start of damage step. Damatianus can negate it, because it is a negate the activation and destroy. So that is the only reason he can negate in damage step. And that's it for that combo. I mean, that's your ideal end board. You know, most of the time I'll end with the Damatianus, the Herculinos with 1 card in hand. Sometimes the Tamer Editor's here, sometimes it's not, because if we backpedal a little bit, normally I'll end on Appaloosa with 2, because I'll make her off of the using the Tamer Editor and the Link 3. Because I'll just make the Damatianus first, then you'll end up with the Augustus still on board. So you have this essentially before the Appaloosa comes out. And so I will just link these 2 away to make the Draco. And then you use your comeback, bring back the Tamer Editor. Tamer Editor effect, you can make the Herculinos. Then you just link this dude and this dude away, or this dude and the Augustus away, so that way he can't be destroyed in battle because they can't target him anyway. And make the Appaloosa for 2. Or you can leave on this dude, which is perfectly fine because dinos have a hard time outing this dude unless they draw the kaiju. And, my bad, he was over here. So we'll do it the proper way. And then you can end on a spell negate / monster direct, but like battle control. But he already does it, and it's a continuous effect, so Hope Harbinger's second effect is kind of irrelevant. And then you have an indestructible monster by monster effects. Monster effect negate, spell and trap negate, and a spell negate. With 1 to 2 cards in hand, depending on what your other cards are in hand and what you decide to set or leave on the board. Right now, you could just make the Herculinos, then use the Herculinos for fodder to make the Hope Harbinger, or you can use the Nero. That's what he's kind of in here for too. He's also in here for the United too. But he's also another level 8 that you can just bring out just to overlay to make the Hope, so you don't have to waste your Herc. And then he can't be destroyed by battle. He's got the Ancient Gear effect. When he attacks, your opponent can't activate anything until the end of the damage step. And then when you get in like the grind game, or if you open up with too many not normals, but level 4s, and you can get them on board, you can make the Esadari. So if you get to the point where you make the Test Panther and then you have 2 normals, you can contact fuse them away, make the Esadari, and then we'll just say you have the Augustus. And then right here, you can still go ahead and start your plays because you can just contact fuse these 2. So he'll go back to the extra, he'll go back to the main. And then you go ahead and just make your Tamer Editor, and then you just proceed to keep making the same plays. And then because they all tag out too, so on your next turn, you draw. You can switch him to attack, and then you can start just beating over the big things with the Domitianus, because he is 3,500. And then you just smack something smaller with the Tamer Editor, or if he's brought back by the comeback, you can just smack something anyway. Tamer Editor does only tag out for 1 or 2. Yeah, just 1. So does the Domitianus, unfortunately. So that's why you try not to tag these 2 out too often, unless you tag the Tamer Editor out back to get another level 8 or level 5 or higher. And then you don't have to worry about tagging out the Domitianus unless you've already used his effect. Then you could tag him back. Bring back another level 5 or higher. And then you can proceed to do the same exact board by just contacting them back in main phase 2. Him, his effect again, then ending on Dom as well. So the deck really revolves around the Tamer Editor heavily. If they kill the Tamer Editor, it hurts. So that's what I fear in Master Rule 5. But other than that, we can go ahead and do another 2-card combo. We'll try to do an actual test hand though.
All right, now what is the, let's say, hardest matchup and hardest side deck card for the deck?
Well, the hardest, if I'm siding or if they're siding.
If they're siding.
If they're siding, if they dark ruler you, you lose. And unless they just cannot out Domitianus, because he's a 3,500 beat stick. And dark ruler, just double checking something. Negates the effects of all face up. So yeah, it would negate his continuous effect too. So you can't control the battle phase. But he's still a 3,500 beat stick. I had one person, he didn't dark ruler me, but in round 1 it was dinos. He kaiju'd my Herculinos, so that way I couldn't negate the evenly match he had. So then he evenly matched me, and I kept the Domitianus, I let the Appaloosa leave, and obviously the Herculinos was gone. And I just sat on the Domitianus because he's a monster effect negate, he's battle phase control, and he's 3,500 attack. So the man made Conductor, but he couldn't out it without suiciding Conductor. And he didn't want to waste that many resources at that point. But that was on his next turn too, because he was in main phase 2 after the evenly. He couldn't attempt a Conductor effect, because if he did, I would just negate and kill the Conductor. So here, Sam, do you want to cut the deck?
Sure.
Well, let's get some good luck here. Hopefully the hand's not bad. If it's bad, I blame Sam. This not my fault.
Sam always goes for bad hands.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now most of the time you want to go first. But on the odd chance you have to go second, that's when you're going to rely more on Tamer Editor. And instead of making the Domitianus, you want to make the Geysirus, because the Geysirus will just pop 2 cards. And he pops 2 cards every time he's summoned. So it means if you bring him out, even the right way with Bestiari and any other Glad Beast, pop 2 cards, link him away, come him back, he will pop 2 more cards.
Wow.
So that's 4 cards you've already gotten rid of. And then you can link him away again, Monster Reborn him, pop 2 more cards. And it's up to 2. So you don't have to pop 2 if your opponent doesn't have that many. So this hand is okay. It's kind of iffy. I mean, this is not a good card you want to see on your first hand. It's more of a grind game card. So we'll just normal the Ondal, activate the comeback, do the Bestiary, and then we'll just...
No Bestiary effect?
No, he's not. He's being brought out by comeback.
Oh, right.
He has to be specialed by the effect of a Glad Beast to get their effects. Other than that, they're essentially normals. One thing to note on Bestiari, though, his Spell and Trap Pop is a mandatory effect. So if you have Rejection on board and your opponent has no spells and traps and you special summon Bestiari, he has to pop your Rejection. So be very careful with that, because you don't want to pop your Rejection. It protects your board. So you'll link those away. We'll make the Test Panther. Now, since you kind of opened up with a dead card in your hand on turn 1, which is not necessarily dead because you have Bestiari engraved, so you could set it. But we'll search off of the Test Panther. I don't know if I want to search the comeback, or because you don't have the Atorix in hand. That's the only downfall. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and we'll search the Atorix. This way you can just end on at least with an interruption and a negate. So you search the Atorix. You'll then activate your Monster Reborn. Bring back your Ondal. Test Panther effect's going to shuffle back the Ondal. So then you'll summon the Augustus. The Augustus effect will summon the Atorix. The Atorix effect will dump the level 5 or higher. Like I said, that's your choice, whatever you want engraved for later. I always dump the second Augustus because I would much rather not open up with it. Also at this point, you know, if they call by the second Augustus, it's dead anyway because you've already used the effect. So then you'll just contact fuse. You'll make the Tamer Editor. Tamer Editor effect, you'll get your Domitianus. And then unfortunately, this is, like I said, this is kind of a bad hand, so you're going to end on this with, you'll set the United, so that way in your opponent's battle phase, let's say your opponent attacks, you get to control where they attack too. That means even if Meloseek, they attempt to attack you directly with Meloseek, you can redirect or direct attacks to Domitianus or another monster.
Okay.
So I had an Altergeist player attempt to attack me directly. I just Domitianus effect and redirected it to him. So he then proceeded to just take the 3k to the face. And then you can also negate the effect of the Meloseek. So we'll just say they killed the Test Panther. You know, you let them kill the Test Panther because you want that extra X zone spot open. Or they pop your, you know, Tamer Editor or Domitianus. I notice a lot of people like to get rid of my Tamer Editor as quick as possible, because if you leave this on my field and you can't kill me, it's just going to allow me to cheese out more stuff out of the extra deck. So, and then they're still in battle phase, so you'll Glad Beast United. You'll go ahead and you'll shuffle back your Augustus and your Bestiari. And you can shuffle back from hand, field, or graveyard, but it has to be during battle phase. That's the only downfall with that card. You can go ahead and just make the Geysers, and now you get to pop 2 cards on your opponent's side of the board. So they're essentially losing 2 cards, you're gaining a monster, and then, you know, on your turn, whatever it is you draw, you draw.
Nice. So that's a lot of interaction.
The deck has a lot of interaction, and I like it. You don't get as much old, like, Glad Beast vibe because of you're using primarily the newer cards to keep the deck going. But the Geyserus, you know, when you start going off of Geyserus in the grind game especially, because I've had games where when I go second, instead of making going second, when you get to this part in your board and you get to the Test Panther with the Tamer Editor, before you activate the Tamer Editor effect, depending on what your opponent's playing, like if they're playing a back row deck, I will normally Tamer Editor and bring out the Geyserus. I won't go the Damatianus. Because the Geyserus, I'm going to force you to activate cards or they're going to get destroyed. So either way, I'm forcing your negates, I'm forcing your monsters on board to leave, I'm forcing you to activate things in your hand. You're making your opponent waste his resources. Which, you know, then maybe you have another Monster Reborn or a comeback or an additional monster or any other extender in your hand. So at this point, you're just trying to force your opponent to negate the Geysers. Because if they negate the Geysers, then you can just keep playing.
Nice. Alright, so what do you think is this deck's biggest strong suit?
Strong suit is definitely the... I know it doesn't seem like much, but with the Test Panther, the Tamer Editor, and the Damatianus, and maybe a back row card or whatever you have in your hand, I think it's a very consistent deck. Like I said, out of 10 rounds in Indy, I bricked once.
And what made you brick? What was the main bricking?
The main bricking was I opened up with Vesp, both Augustus, which really sucks because it's very hard to get him out of your hand unless you open up with a comeback. But I opened up with these three, an Ondal, and I think a Bestiary. So at this point, there's not too much terribly you can do at all.
Wow.
I mean, you could normal the Bestiary and wait for them to enter damage step, and then you could drop the Vespius. But then at that point, they're probably already going to OTK you, or they're attempting to establish their board, and you have no interruptions. So when I saw this hand, I just immediately just scooped and went to the next game, which I then went first and just bodied him. I mean, so that's the only downfall is if you open up with too many level highs. But then again, that's, you know, Blue Eyes, the same thing. You open up too many level 8s, you can't do too much, especially with dark matter gone. You know, it's...
I know, I love the days when it's just, you know, summon 2 level 8s and end your opponent's life. I special summon, you know, doesn't matter twice. And just, you gotta pitch all your hand traps, man.
That's true. On another note, you know, like I said, if you're gonna end on the board with the Test Panther, the Tamer Editor, and the Damatianus, and you're still going first and you don't have another extender to keep your plays going, like to make the Draco Master and then bring back the Tamer Editor to make another negate. Mm-hmm. If you can't do that, then that's fine. Just end on this, and like let's say you drew the GladBeast trap, you know, this one, or you do play the Chariot, the one Chariot, because it's a free negate if you draw it. You know, you can just set either one of these and you're fine. Like Gladiator Beast Charge, you can target face-up cards on the field up to the number of Gladiator Beast monsters you control, which you control 2. So you can set it, and then on your opponent's turn, you can pop 2 cards. You know, and right now you have Invoked Shadal, so you can get rid of their Construct before they attempt to do something. You can pop the Magical Meltdown when they attempt to activate it, so they can't search the Alistair, so they can't keep going. Or you can force the Makaba negate or get rid of the Makaba. Or, you know, Salads, you can pop their Link or force their Roar. You know, it's so many options with this card. This is literally your own Salmon Great Rage, but it does target and it's only face-up cards. So, and that's why if you know your opponent's going to make you go second, you just side these out. I mean, that's essentially, they're only going first cards. I have sometimes ended on a board like this and searched this instead of using and searching a comeback, because I know my opponent was playing a back row heavy deck. So that way I could set this, and then that way if they try to crack down, there can only be one, anything like that, you can just get rid of it. But this deck can play around there can only be one, because most of the time, due to comeback, stating that you have to have different monsters different monsters on board to summon other stuff, you're technically kind of main decking that there can only be one anyway. So I've even thought about if you want, you could side it or even main deck it at this point. But with things like Spiral and all that, there can only be one slows them down, but it doesn't hurt them as bad. They can still play around it. It does hurt Lunalight a little bit because they can't do the Kaleido check into the other one. I can't think of the other one's name.
Yellow Martin.
Yellow Martin, yeah, or the Emerald Bird. They can't keep going.
Right.
Cool. All right. So, any closing statements? Any shout outs for you?
Well, I remember in my last video, I said that I couldn't remember what I lost to Sunday, and it was Altergeist. Altergeist is one of your worst matchups, unless you open up with Rejection. If you open up with Rejection, Altergeist have a hard time getting around that because they cannot target with Silk to bounce your stuff. Just be careful, be wary of the Protocol, because it does hurt if they hit the Panther or if they counter the Domitianus effect with it. That's why most of the time you'll make the Herculinos. Control decks are probably your hardest matchup aside from other Rogue, but depending on the Rogue deck, you can beat them. Like I went against 5 of the Rogue decks and smacked all 5 of those. Nice. Most of my losses at the regional were from Lunalight and the Trickstar Stun.
Nice.
And then again, just shout out to you, shout out to Rivals.
Yeah, yeah, Rivals.
Don't edit
New location coming out Friday. Woo.
Yep, and I'm gonna try to be on your channel Friday too if we play together.
Yeah,
or
that's
play
gonna be
against each
fun.
other. We'll record the match so you guys can watch. I would like to do more in-depth stuff with this, but the only way you guys are gonna see it is more if you try it yourself, or if you message Sam. Sam will get a hold of me, and then I'll try to help as much as I can. So
yeah. So let us know. We appreciate your comments.
And again, I'm looking for max rarity GladBeast stuff.
Yeah, max rarity GladBeast.
If you guys have it, just let Sam know.
Yep. Facebook me, all that good stuff. All right. See you guys later. You all are super dope. Bye.